Good morning again. This is Sharma Torrens. I'm the Conservation Education Director for the Arizona Association of Conservation Districts, so the AACD. A couple things. I'm going to be recording these sessions, so if anyone misses it, we're going to put it on the AACD website. We're going to make it available on social media and other things, and so that's kind of a good thing, is we're going to capture what everybody says. We've got a good agenda today. Yeah, we've got a lot of great speakers. Daric Knight, the chair for the Apache NRCD, will be joining us any moment, and he will welcome everybody. He's having a few connection issues. I'm going to talk about the AACD and the NRCDs. I'm going to talk about NRCS's, gosh, a lot of acronyms, right? I'm going to talk about the U.S. Department of Agriculture Natural Resources Conservation Service. I know you probably already know the acronyms. NRCS's Conservation Stewardship Program. We're going to hear from David Fisher, who's going to talk about some other NRCS programs and Farm Bill updates. Haley Andrus from the Farm Bureau is with us, with the Apache County Farm Bureau, so thank you for that. Going to hear from Rob Andrus, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. From John Arona, the Department of Forestry and Fire Management, and JD Eddy from the Arizona Game and Fish Department. So it's a good agenda today. And then afterwards, and Daric might be talking after he joins us in a moment, there will be an Apache Natural Resource Conservation District meeting. So an Apache NRCD meeting right after. So everyone's welcome to stay on that. A couple of housekeeping. One, I'm sorry we can't all meet in person. I obviously prefer to meet everybody in person and have these workshops so we can all shake hands, but we know we can't do that at this time. And I just wanted to kind of mention that in this age of technology and meeting online, we're kind of slaves to it. So sometimes the computer might die, or the internet might go out, or the screen might freeze, or the audio might go out, and lots of things can go wrong. So just be patient. Anybody loses connection, just try to call back in. So that's how we're going to kind of work with this. I have everybody muted, but I just wanted to tell folks that aren't familiar with Zoom, if you point your arrow down at the bottom of your screen, there's a black menu that'll pop up. So you can, on the far left of that menu, there's a mute and a stop video. I know most of you aren't on video, but if you want to mute yourself, you can there. And I think I have everybody muted anyways, but you can also unmute yourself. So that's another benefit. We've chosen to do it this way because if anyone has any questions during any of the presentations, please just unmute yourself, or I'm going to give you another selection here. So we've also got another chance to ask questions via the chat button. So on that menu at the bottom of your screen, hold on, I'm admitting a few other people. On that menu, you'll see a chat button in the middle of the screen. If you pull that up, and then at the bottom of the chat button, you can select to everyone, or you can select to certain speakers. So if you pull down that menu, you can type in a question to everyone or just a few of the speakers. And so if you have any questions and you'd rather just type it in rather than unmute yourself, go ahead and feel free to do that. And yeah, thank you all so much for attending. And I wanted to say thank you so much to our partners. Thank you to the Apache Natural Resource Conservation District, the NRCD. I'm going to start using that acronym from here on out. Thank you so much to NRCS. They're another great partner. Apache County Farm Bureau. Thank you so much for your help here. And all our speakers, I wanted to say welcome. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And we are just going to move on. I think Daric Knight was logged on for oh, there we go, Daric. I think we've got Daric connecting now. So hold on a moment. And Daric Knight is the chair of the Apache NRCD, and he'd like to say a few words. Hold on a moment. And I apologize if you're going to be hearing noises on my end. This is another negative we have to deal with in this age of technology. We might hear dogs barking, we might hear children in the back, and other noises in the yard, and just bear with us and be patient. Okay, I think Daric is connecting via audio. So hold on a moment, everybody. Oh, okay. We still have a few people joining as well. Daric, can you hear us? Okay, I think you might have to call in. Let's see. Hold on a moment, everybody. We'll get started in just a moment. Sorry about the delays. Well, you know what I might do? It sounds like there's some issues. Hi, Christy. I know you just joined us. I just unmuted you. Hi, Christy. It's Sharma.
Hi, Sharma.
Hi, I'm going to put you on mute, but thank you so much for joining us. And feel free to unmute yourself. And then again, for everybody else, there's at the bottom of the screen, there's that chat button if anyone wants to type in a question. And yeah, Daric seems to still be having some issues. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get started on my presentation, and then we'll have Daric chime in when he's able to do so. Okay, so again, yeah, Sharma Torrens, Conservation Education Director for the Arizona Association of Conservation Districts. And I'm very happy that you're all able to join us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see this in just a moment. Can everybody see that? Let's see if I can. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so everybody can see my screen. Let me see if I can also see when Daric is able to enter. Okay, oh, Daric. Let's see, I think Daric's got the connection. Daric? Daric, can you hear me?
Yep, there, I'm on finally.
Hi, Daric. Well, thank you again, everybody. This is Daric Knight, and they're one of our great partners in helping us put on this workshop. He's the chair of the Apache NRCD, and I'll let you take it away, Daric.
Okay, well, I don't know all who's on, but I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to get on today. This is a partnership we have with our state association to and NRCS to give kind of a wrap up of our conservation CSP conservation. What is it? What's CSP stand for, Sharma?
Program. You're good. You're good.
Yeah, conservation stewardship program today, and I think and hope we've got some Farm Bureau people on too, and maybe some other agencies where we can share and learn and listen on some other program or agency program opportunities to put conservation on the ground. And then I would also like to invite you too, as once we finish up with this workshop, the Apache Natural Resource Conservation District will stay on the line, and I'd like to invite you to stay on with us. We'll have a very quick, short board meeting. So just to take care of some quick business and any updates that we need to. So I don't really have anything other than that, other than I'm glad you are all able to get on here. It's been a little challenge for me for sure, and probably for several of you others as well. So other than that, I'll turn it back to you, Sharma.
Thank you so much, Daric. We appreciate your partnership in helping us put this on, and yeah, all your help in this. I wanted to tell you too is that I am going to mute you, but feel free to unmute yourself. At the bottom of the screen, there's that black menu. You can unmute, or you can mute yourself or unmute yourself over there on the far left of that. And then, yeah, everybody, again, feel free to just unmute yourself and chime in, or type in the chat button at that bottom screen if you have any questions while we're speaking. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to talk about the Arizona Association of Conservation Districts. And again, here we go with acronyms, the AACD, as well as Arizona's Natural Resource Conservation Districts, the NRCDs. So Daric Knight, again, is the chair of the Apache NRCD. And I've got my contact information up there, so feel free to reach out to me. I'd like to hear from people, especially in this situation, so feel free to do so. Okay, so again, yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit, and I'm going to do just a kind of brief overview of all of this, of the AACD and the NRCDs. So the AACD, so basically the Arizona Association of Conservation Districts is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we're owned and operated by Arizona's 42 NRCDs. So there's 42 NRCDs. They blanket the whole state, they cover the whole state, and we are the support system for them. We are owned and managed by them, and we are there to support them. And they conserve agriculture and natural resources, and so that is the goal of the AACD as well. Okay, so again, there's 42 NRCDs in our state, and they work to conserve agriculture and natural resources. 32 are political subdivisions of the state, which means they're administered by the Arizona State Land Department. So Commissioner Atkins, one of the many hats she wears, she's also our Natural Resources Conservation Commissioner for those 32, and then 10 of those are tribal. So each NRCD is governed by 5 to 7 what we call supervisors, and they're elected or appointed, but basically they're made up of farmers, ranchers, and other private landowners, but they're volunteering their time. These are non-paid positions. They're giving up their time to conserve farms, ranches, our food supply, but also our wildlife habitat, our wildlife migratory corridors, open spaces, water, soil, etc. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of history of the NRCD. So I don't know if y'all remember hearing about the Dust Bowl of the 1930s. So the erosion of the soil and the Great Plains caused so much dust that the dust cloud actually reached the Capitol. President Roosevelt and the Congress started paying attention. That's when in 1935, Congress declared the conservation of water and soil a national priority. 1935 is also the year the Soil Erosion Service was created, now NRCS, one of our great partners on this. And then in 1941, that's when Arizona's NRCDs were created. So long time, 1941 they've been around. Okay, so the Arizona legislature established them, and you remember the 32 administered by the state land, 10 are tribal. But also in 1941, a state soil conservation committee was created, comprised of the governor, the water commissioner, the director of ag extension, etc. And then in 1944, that's when the Arizona Association of Conservation Districts was created. And so we have been around a long time as well. And then in 1945, and this isn't on the slide, but in 1945, that's when that State Soil Conservation Commission was dissolved, and that's when the Arizona State Land Department took over administering over the 32 NRCDs. In 1946, the National Association of Conservation Districts was established, and I'll explain what they do in just a moment. But I also want to point out this great map. So this is a map of all the NRCDs in the state. This is also on our website at aacd1944.com, but it's a great map, and you can see again they cover the whole state. Okay, so I like to say that NRCDs are Arizona's best kept secret. The public doesn't really know they exist, which is a tragedy. If they did, I think it would have a lot of impact, and I'll talk about that in a little while as well. But as I told you, they arose out of the 1930s Dust Bowl. There are 3,000 NRCDs across the country. So they blanket the entire nation in every state, but they're called different things in each state. So for instance, in Texas, it's the Soil Water Conservation Districts. In other states, it's just the conservation districts or resource conservation districts. Here it's our natural resource conservation districts, but 3,000 across the nation, and that National Association of Conservation Districts also helps kind of bring everybody together. So they oversee these 3,000 NRCDs across the country. And again, I like to emphasize this, farmers, ranchers, and other volunteers giving up their time to conserve our water, soil, fish and wildlife habitat, food supply, farms, ranches, everything. They do a great work. They should be commended for all that they do. Okay, so how do the NRCDs do this? So they work closely with the private landowners in their district. So basically the farmers and ranchers and other private landowners in their district. They're called cooperators, and it's almost like members of their NRCD. So they work with the private landowners. They also work closely with federal, state, local, and other agencies and other entities to get conservation funds here and on the ground. So they work with, again, one of the examples, one of our partners today is NRCS, is one of our great partners. Also the Bureau of Land Management, Fish and Wildlife Service, Forest Service, Game and Fish Department, all of our partners on the line today and our speakers. And that's how they get the conservation dollars, and again, working with all the private landowners in their district. They also each have an education center, and they basically are looking to teach children to adults about the importance of agriculture and of conservation. And we all know that's a very important task to do. They also teach about things like best management practices and other things like that. Okay, so the NRCDs basically, as I was explaining, they're kind of the intermediary between the private landowners or those cooperators for the NRCDs and these federal, state, local agencies and other entities that bring in the conservation dollars. And again, a lot of our great partners helped us with this, and they're on the phone now and speaking today. But so NRCDs, they do a lot of great work. They get that conservation on the ground. Last year alone, they got $42 million in the state for conservation dollars in 2019. So they do a lot of great conservation work. And they also have these education centers, and we all know that's very important. But what I think that really makes the NRCD unique are two things. One, I think because they focus on conservation, wildlife habitat, water, soil, wildlife migratory corridors, and they also focus on agriculture, farms, ranches, our food supply. And I think they have the ability to facilitate collaborations and bring together these groups that might not necessarily always work together. Some are just focused on wildlife habitat and conservation on this end. Others might just be focused on agriculture or food, and they have the opportunity to kind of bring everybody together because it's such a broad focus, right? The other thing that I think really makes them unique is that they have the ability to educate the public about the importance of agriculture. And I think most of us on the line would say that this is kind of it's a vital role, and it's a vital task that we all engage in, because there's a lot of folks out there that don't understand the importance of agriculture or where their food comes from. And I'm not going to bore you with my lengthy story, but the reason I truly believe this is because I came from that side. Prior to 7 years ago, I didn't understand where my food came from. I thought farmers and ranchers abused their animals, that farming and ranching just basically polluted the environment. Everything was negative. I was completely deluded. And then 7 years ago, I took a job with a nonprofit that conserved agriculture and open space. And I got to meet all farmers and ranchers, but the really pivotal moment in my life was when I got to meet the NRCD supervisors, and I saw these farmers, ranchers, and other private landowners giving up their free time to conserve wildlife habitat, migratory corridors, open spaces, water, soil, as well as the agriculture. And that's what really blew my mind and really gave me a positive view of agriculture. I now know where my food comes from, and I'd like to think I'm one of the greatest advocates for agriculture. So you can see why I believe that the NRCDs honestly have the ability to do this. The public doesn't know they exist, and I think if they did, again, it would start to change these negative perceptions about agriculture. Okay, so just some of the takeaways, and I think you all kind of get the gist of what I'm saying, but basically the AACD is there to support the NRCDs. The NRCDs are there to, and again, these supervisors volunteering their time to conserve the agriculture and the natural resources. They have the ability to facilitate those collaborations. They get the conservation work on the ground. They have the education center about the importance of agriculture and of conservation. And they also have the ability to educate the public about the importance of agriculture. Okay, with that said, I'm going to put up my contact information again. Please feel free to reach out to me, especially in this time. I definitely like to talk to a lot of people. And if there are no questions, and I don't think I saw anyone, does anyone have any questions? Okay, so I'm going to now move on to talking about NRCS's Conservation Stewardship Program. Okay, we are at the end of the slideshow. Can everyone see this? Sometimes Zoom has some delays in the PowerPoint. Yeah?
We can see it. I can see
Great. Thank you, Rob. Great. Thank you. Okay, great. So I'm going to talk about, again, NRCS's Conservation Stewardship Program, and I'm just going to call it CSP. So here we go with another acronym. So I'm going to talk about the origination, the purpose, the basics, eligibility, payment, other terms. The 2018 Farm Bill, give a few examples on a farm and a ranch. I'm not going to hand out surveys. I'm actually going to email them out to you afterwards, but I will talk a little bit about those and talk about application deadlines and next steps. Okay, so the Conservation Stewardship Program. So it was established in the 2002 Farm Bill. It was reauthorized and modified by subsequent farm bills. In 2015, NRCS really reinvented it to increase transparency, flexibility, etc. Okay, so the purpose, to encourage producers to address priority resource concerns and improve their conservation performance by installing, adopting conservation activities, and improving, maintaining, and managing existing conservation activities. So the way I like to think about this, and I want people to really understand this, is you are being paid to really maintain a lot of what you might already be doing with conservation activities, as well as implementing some others which could enhance your agriculture operations, which is the whole goal. We want to see you enhance your agricultural operation. Okay, so basically this is a 5-year contract. It's money and technical assistance to eligible producers. The activities, these are called enhancements. They're basically conservation activities to enhance current conservation efforts. And I should also mention that really with this CSP program and what I'm talking about right now, I'm giving you a 60,000-foot view of all of this. And so if you have further questions, please feel free to ask. We've also got our NRCS experts on the line today too as well, but just giving you the overview of this. And I want to also mention something real quick, and I'll emphasize again, this program has been underutilized in Arizona. And it was because, and I'll talk about the changes in the 2018 Farm Bill, but yeah, a lot of our Arizona producers have not taken advantage of this program thus far. We want to see that change. And I'm going to tell you these great changes that came about and how you should take advantage of it. We've got a deadline coming up, but there's still time, and I'm encouraging all farmers and ranchers to apply for this. Okay, so eligibility. So let's talk about that. So there's 3 determinations for eligibility. So applicant eligibility, land eligibility, and stewardship threshold eligibility. That's a tough word to say. Say eligibility 3 times fast. Well, we'll talk about all that. Okay, applicant eligibility. Producers with effective control of the land no longer need to be the operator of record. They could be owners or tenants as identified in the FSA records. Okay, so this is touching on what the 2018 Farm Bill has already, one change that it's made. No longer need to be an operator of record, can be a tenant or lessee. And so you can see how that would start to apply to those producers out in the West with a lot of public lands. Okay, land eligibility. Private or tribal land which ag commodities, livestock, or forest-related products are produced. And here's something else coming in from the 2018 Farm Bill and a change, making it applicable to Western producers. Associated lands are eligible as well. So public lands. So again, these are the big changes, and they're really trying to make it so those out in the West can take advantage of this. So public land is eligible when it's associated with other eligible lands, and it's under the effective control of the applicant, and which is a working component of the producer's agricultural operation. So again, I want to emphasize again, public lands, and you can be a tenant or lessee. So definitely applicable out here in the West. Okay, stewardship threshold eligibility. The level of management required to conserve and improve quality of a natural resource. At the time of the contract offer, you meet or exceed for at least 2 priority concerns and would meet or exceed for 1 additional by the end of the contract. So at the time of the contract, 2 priority concerns and meet or exceed for 1 additional by the end of the contract. Okay, and I don't know if we have any folks that have already enrolled in CSP, and so I don't know if this is applicable to most of you, but just like to talk about the renewal eligibility. So by the end of the renewal contract, remember this is a 5-year contract, meet or exceed the stewardship threshold of 2 additional priority resource concerns on the ag operation, or implement new or improve existing activities to achieve higher levels of conservation performance for a minimum of 2 priority resource concerns met or exceeded in the initial contract. So that's for renewal. And again, I don't know if that applies to any of you out there, but payment. So payments include, so it's after October 1st, so after the year end or fiscal year end for NRCS. So October 1st, and the payment is to maintain the existing activity. So remember, this might be things you're already doing, these conservation practices you're already implementing. Payment to implement additional activities, payment for adopting 1 of 2 systems, resource conserving crop rotation, advanced grazing management. Okay, and the payment limitations. So person or entity can't exceed 200,000, a joint enterprise can't exceed 400,000. Okay, so that's a little bit about the payment. Okay, I talked a little bit about the 2018 Farm Bill and the changes, but one other change, CSP has been moved under the same chapter as EQIP, the Environmental Quality Incentive Program. So now they're under the same chapter. Because as we like to think, so CSP kind of takes EQIP to a next level, as I say it, with conservation practices. The existing
Sharma?
Yeah.
David? I couldn't send you a message, but somebody IM me, they're trying to get on. Shelby Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll try to hold on a moment. Thank you for letting me that. I'm almost done and I'll just let her on. I got to get back to that screen, but
Okay.
Thank you, David. Okay, so this is no longer an acre-based program. Public land is eligible. So remember that public land don't have to be an operator of record, can be a tenant, lessee. And again, applicable to what producers out in the West. And renewals will now be competitive. Okay, so let's just do a quick few examples. And I was going to actually see if I could let any new people in. I don't believe I could. I'll do that in just a moment. Okay. Okay, sorry. Let me go back to that screen. So farm, the 290 acres, they agreed to do 3 enhancements. So this is an example of an existing. They're doing herbaceous weed treatment, reduce risk nutrient loss, surface water by using precision ag tech, so GPS, and controlled traffic to decrease compaction. So the payment was $15,000 a year. Remember, it's a 5-year contract. So that's a farm example. Ranch example, 4,500 acres. They agreed to do 3 enhancements. This is also an existing one here in Arizona. They did prescribed grazing, maintain quantity and quality of forage for ag health, and tree and shrub establishment. So basically they planted trees. So the payment they received is $24,500 a year. And again, remember, 5-year contract. All right, so these 1-page surveys, I'm going to talk about those real quick. So I'm going to email everyone after this, and I would appreciate if you could fill these out and send them back. Just want to learn about obstacles with CSP and whether you'd would be interested in applying, and if not, why not? It provides us some helpful information, so I will send you those. Okay, next steps. Okay, so we've got a deadline coming up. So if anyone's interested, you can contact me. And again, I'm going to be sending you an email today or tomorrow. So if you didn't write down my contact information, you will know how to reach me. We've got a June 1st deadline, which means you would have to submit an application and do a consultation, but we can do it. So I'm not going to dissuade anyone. It's possible. We've got enough time. So we've got that deadline coming up. I also say if you would prefer to contact your NRCS rep, please feel free to do that as well. NRCS will rank those. I provide a link, and you know what, I'll actually email you all this as well as a list of the enhancements when I email you the survey, so you can look at those. And I've got a contact for Marcus Muniz. He's the acting assistant state con. and he's also working that. We've also got Jason Kepler on the line, and he is also a CSP expert as well, and maybe he'll be able to chime in. But I want to say a couple things. Again, public lands eligible, all right? So BLM leases, state trust land, things like that, eligible, okay? You don't have to be an operator of record. You could be the tenant, the lessee, and please apply. If you're interested in any way, shape, or form, I would strongly encourage you to apply. Completely underutilized in Arizona, but we need to make sure you all get some money. We want to see you enhance your ag operation and be paid for what you're already doing or things that you might want to be doing anyways. Okay, so with that said, I don't know if there's any questions for anybody. Feel free to ask if there are, and I'm going to see if I could admit a few folks in.